What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the CIV Podcast. We are so glad to have you back here with us here today. We are just about finished this first season of the podcast, and we're so grateful for everyone who has taken the time to listen and share your story. Yes. We have 2 more episodes left, so including this one, we have 1 more episode, which is a very special episode. We're very excited about it. But yeah, well, we're going to take a short break before the fall. We're going to come back nice and strong in the fall with more of your stories. So we would love if you like and subscribe, follow us on Instagram, send us a DM if you want to be a part of it, approach us at church. We would love to have you on the podcast. We've had such a great time so far just learning about our congregation and about their faith journeys. And we are so blessed to be able to have that opportunity again with Ron. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Excited to be here. Hello. You just said that you're really excited about the next one?
I am.
Does that mean you're not excited about this one?
Oh, no. That is not what I said. I'm so excited about this one. No. Oh no, don't shoot the messenger. I'm still excited about this one.
I'm excited to be here.
But yeah, so why don't you tell the people, who are you? What do you do?
Okay.
Why are you on this couch?
Yeah, that's cool. I'm Ron. I watched the last episode, by the way, with Ladame, and I just want to say up front, what you guys are doing is incredible. And I'm so excited to see that you guys have taken this on to start this podcast, to be interviewing and sharing the stories of people's lives and where they are in their journey with God and with culture and so on. And I just remember the last one, and there's a tie-in I'll talk about later with Lady May's story that is incredible that God's been working in amazing ways that way. So lots to live up to, but I'm excited to be here. I do a few different things. My day job is I teach. I teach at a private Christian school. And this is my 32nd year teaching.
Wow. Congratulations.
Been doing it for a while. Wow.
1/32, that's crazy.
Wow. Hopefully that's not...
No, but I'm saying he'll probably get to there one day, you know?
No, there's no indication of how old you are. Don't worry, Ron. Nobody knows.
Okay, I didn't mean to age you. Sorry.
It's going already. Oops. Yeah, so been teaching. I'm in leadership development as well, leveraging e-commerce and developing leaders that way. I get to do some consulting. I get to do a few different things. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of the musical side and some of the things I get to do in a few different spaces. I'm really blessed that I'm able to meet with quite a few different kinds of people in different spaces, especially education, business, leadership, and of course the church space, let alone the nonprofit space and the political space as well.
Cool. Yeah, well, I mean, we know you from worship, but tell us where you serve here at Church in the Valley.
Yeah, I mean, well, the primary one is funny because my phone rang last night and it said NIM, and I'm like, why am I getting a call from the big man? Right. So yeah, I'm blessed to be part of the worship team. Blessed to be on with you guys. Amazing. From new people like you, Ryan, and just blessed to have your golden voice. And Alex, when you get up there, your heart just comes through, and so it's an honor to be part of the team. I'm okay with all the jokes about my age.
I promise. It's not the first time, actually.
And being, I think I'm the oldest one on the team, and I'm good with that. I'm good with playing that role. Yeah, but I'm excited. I'm excited. God has taken me through my own journey when it comes to worship. Actually, I have quite a journey when it comes to that, and been blessed to be part of a few different spaces, and glad to serve in that way. And then, as Pastor was talking to me last night, there's a few things on the horizon coming up, which I don't know how much I'm allowed to speak about yet, but certainly the creative team for sure, and then some other things when it comes to young people going forward and next generation, and quite a few other areas that we're exploring.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, now that we know a little bit about you, we would love to reel it all the way back to the beginning of your story, your faith story. So, how did you find Jesus? Where did Jesus find you, maybe, in your life?
Yeah.
How did you get to this point in your faith journey today?
Sure. I grew up in the Caribbean. My dad's a pastor. Mom is a teacher, principal. They're both retired now in Toronto. And that's part of the story, actually, again, with from Lady May, because she talked about kind of how her journey to be out here in Fraser Valley. And if I've got the story right, my mom was the one that was the guidance counselor she was speaking to you guys about last
What?
time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, was
Wow,
the guidance counselor,
that's
the principal,
crazy
where she
how,
went to school at Crawford.
Wow.
Crawford Adventist Academy in Toronto. So you got two Torontonians, one after the other.
Dang. Okay.
But yeah, grew up in the Caribbean, watched my mom and my dad, watched my dad, a lot of people come to faith. And when I say a lot, I mean thousands of people come to Christ. And grew up not appreciating, not really realizing what I was watching. Watching people go from addicted to sober, from marriages on the rocks to getting back together, from death to life, and watching people, the God of the universe, transform people's lives.
That's good, yeah.
And watching mom and dad go through that with so many people. And it was amazing. When you're in it, you don't really realize what's around you at the time.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of that happened in the Caribbean. And then when we were 12 years old, moved to Toronto. My dad got called. Actually, when we were down there, my parents, when they were finishing their PhDs, my dad came up from Andrews University to Toronto. He did camp a couple times. The first time he came up, he baptized. He doesn't like me talking about the numbers, but I will tell you that if you look it up in the Adventist records, I think it's the Canadian record for the most amount of baptisms in 1 4 or 5 week period. And then churches came out of that. Toronto East and was already there, but really started growing at that time and planted a few other churches. And it was funny because that whole thing happened. At first, I wasn't there for the first time, but then after that, they called him back a second year. Said, "Wow, can you come back and do it again?" And he baptized a whole lot more people. And then they said, "Can you please come? We're gonna want to hire you. The Ontario Conference wants to hire you." And we moved up there, and it was amazing because we were, as a family, we just moved, and 3 months after we moved, my brother died.
Okay.
I remember screaming. I remember a blood vessel, brain aneurysm, a blood vessel burst in his head. And that was on a Friday. By Sunday, he was gone. And that was life-changing for me. It impacted my life in ways that I'm still learning about to this very day. But something happened. Speak about the faith journey. I remember this part distinctly. I can still remember standing in the kitchen. And my mom and dad didn't see me. I just remember them kneeling down, holding hands, and saying, "Our hearts are breaking, but this is not going to break us.
Wow.
We're going to hold on to God and each other through this." And this little 12-year-old boy, standing at the corner of the kitchen, watched that. And something formed in me that day. Something in that day, I realized that day that no matter what happens, you can go through hell. But if you hold on to God and relationships and community, you can make it.
Yeah.
You can make it.
Yeah.
And that's something that, regardless of any age, we can hold on to each other.
Yeah.
And you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
They didn't realize I was watching them, but it stuck with me to this day. And so when we go through hard things, I still have that core memory of holding on to God through the time. So yeah. I don't know how much more you want me to share going forward, but that I'm at 12 right now.
He's like, there's so much more.
I'm at 12 right now. Well, I went on from there, went to, I remember a couple more things actually. During that time, my brother died. A lot of people were at the funeral. And I remember being really afraid. Well, I remember this. Here's what happened. What actually happened was, when we cry, and now I'm going to speak about, it's not unique to my culture, but certainly let's just talk about Black people for a minute. Oftentimes, like when we cry at funerals or some things like that, it's we cry. Like it's heavy. And I know we're not the only culture that does that, but there were 3 or 4 or 5 ambulances that came to take people away because they were crying so hard at the funeral. The funeral, there were people upstairs and downstairs. They filled the church, and people had to watch the funeral on closed circuit TV. And that was another core memory for me because I remember my dad standing over the coffin, and I remember later on when people were going away, when we had to take people away, I remember getting so angry. Not so much at God, but at people. Because I'm thinking, this is my family, and you're supposed to be comforting us right now. Why is my dad comforting you? I remember thinking that and thinking this, and I don't think this anymore, but I remember thinking at that time, feelings make you weak. Feelings make you unable to do what you need to do in that moment. I never want to feel anything. I never want to get married. I don't want to give my heart to anyone. I never want to feel, I don't want to feel anything.
Wow.
And again, that's something that took a long time, and we can talk about that later. That's something that took a long time for me to even address, to even realize. I realized that now that was what was going on, but at the time, it was a hard time for me. Yeah. So that's a little bit of the beginning of my own faith journey. From there, went on to a few different places when it comes to teaching, and I will say this: what got me out of the willingness to just like the unwillingness to be by myself, to stay, to go into law. That was what I was going to do. Never get married. Was I had a mentor come alongside me, a guy named Mark, and I was asked to sing for his wedding. And preparing for his wedding, going down to Bellingham, I said, Mark, you have everything I want in life. You've got a great law practice. You're doing all this other amazing things when it comes to business, and you're so successful. I don't understand why you'd be so stupid and mess it up and get married.
Oh no, Ron. Oh, man.
When sometimes a wise person just looks at you and says, "It's okay. Yeah. You'll understand." He didn't beat on me. He just allowed that to be. And he started asking me questions, as so many wise people will do. He asked me questions, and to make a long story short, I remember him saying to me, "Ron, if you want to be single for the rest of your life, totally fine to do that. Jesus was single. Paul was single. They did okay. There's nothing wrong with being single. You're not half of a person if you are. But if you want to be single, do it because you want to, not because you're afraid to or you're avoiding." You see that?
That's great.
Yeah, that was my reaction too. I was like, I didn't want to think of myself as a person that was afraid. I didn't want to think of myself as a person that was driven by avoiding certain things. And it made me start to just open up. Wow. It made me start to open up to what would it look like to have a family? What would it look like to be married? What would that look like? And things went on from there. So that's a really small part of the journey.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like you lived so many lives.
I've been around for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, that's gonna be a running joke. You dug yourself into that hole.
Technically, I'm considered old too.
It's like,
okay,
wow, there's so much for so long. It's okay.
How do I recover? Take over, Ryan.
Okay, I don't think you'll ever recover from that, but it's okay. I love that. Like, one of the things that we've noticed in so many of these stories is that, like, it always is that like community and that people surrounding you, and what kind of changes the trajectory. Like we saw it in Lady May's story, we saw it in our stories, we're seeing it in your stories, and like that importance of community and surrounding yourself with the right people, in order to like build up your faith in that way.
I mean, let me talk about one person that I hope watches this at some point, Pastor Jim Gall. Who was, you had him at Fraser Valley for so long, so influential and key in my life. I don't know where I would be if it were not for him. There's a few people like that, but Pastor Jim specifically, when it came to my spiritual life, he's the guy that can, in a loving way, slap me around and say, "Wake up, stop." Yeah, I just remember going through a season where I was actually I was living to be honest I was working at Fraser Valley, and living a double life, living a double life because I was out partying and doing things, and teaching. Then I would go back and teach. I loved to dance. I loved music. I loved the nightlife, and so I was doing that by night and then teaching by day. And I just remember speaking with Pastor Jim about what does it mean to live a holistic life. What does it look like? And I remember driving all the way from here to Hope, which is an hour and a half or something like that. And him just sitting down with me and walking through what it like to, he turned me on to a book by Richard Foster called The Spirit of the Disciplines. A lot of them we call them spiritual practices today. And what does it look like to engage in life rhythms that open you up to the Holy Spirit, that open you up to the God that is transformative, that changes you from the inside out. So instead of willpower, that God can change you. And it got me on a journey and a path that helped me stop. And the last straw, I remember I was dancing, and there's people all around, and all of those kinds of things were going on, and I realized that I was going to be on the next day at church. And I said, God, I can't stop. Like I don't want to stop. Help me I'm not willing to stop. So God, help me to be willing to be willing. And honestly, Alex, in that moment, the desire left.
Wow.
I wish I could say that's true for chocolate.
I know, right?
But the desire left, desire to live that do that left. And so I'm thankful to Pastor Jim and so many others that have come along since then. Of course, my wife and now kids, and to help make that happen. Yeah, but you're right. Relationships help our transform. That is God's way, one of God's primary ways of helping us change from the inside out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love in that moment that, like, and I think some of us can speak to that, is when we're telling God, like, truly how it is, you get also this sense of, like, clarity. Even when we're like, hey, God, like, I don't even want to give this up. And he was like, okay, well, thanks for being real with me. That's probably what he wanted at the moment, for you to just surrender and just be straight up with him. Because obviously God is like, he knows our every move, but to physically allow ourselves and be vulnerable in that sense, be like, this is me. I'm broken. This is what I'm doing. And then God's like, I see you. Thanks for recognizing that. Because I saw it already, but I need you to understand, like, hey, and then until we put that out there, I think also it's so beautiful that God is just like, okay, say less. And then you're just like,
it's kind of random.
Yes.
But like,
nice.
There's an analogy of like how lifeguards save people.
Okay.
Like when people are drowning, the lifeguards wait until they've stopped struggling to help, to like save them.
Oh, interesting.
And like when the people are drowning realize that they actually need help, that's when the lifeguard goes in and saves the person. Because if the person's like in the water and going like this and like is just doing the most, the lifeguard can't do much to save them. But it's in the point where the person who's drowning realizes that they need help. That's when the lifeguard can actually save them. So
Not really random, but yeah, I get
in the same way, like God can't really help us until we recognize that we need help, right? Which happens in a lot of situations. Right. So
it's amazing.
Not random, but
and it's funny how God works. Because if I fast forward, I mean, that was that moment where literally God changed my heart when it came to partying and all of that. That was many decades ago. Many decades ago.
Not many decades.
It was years ago. But another real key moment in my faith journey happened only 14 years ago. And when people say, I had a mentor say to me just a few years ago, he said, if you knew that you had 3 minutes to live, this is going to sound a little bit morbid, but it's good to reflect on this sometimes.
We can do it.
He said, if you knew that you had 3 minutes to live and then you were going to die, what would you say to your family and friends? What would you say? In fact, a guy named Randy Posh wrote a book called The Last Lecture, because when he found out he had cancer, he started doing these lectures, and they end up in a book called The Last Lecture. First time I saw him was on Oprah, just the idea behind it is, if you have something that a life message, something that's really important to you, what are you going to say? So I thought about what that would be for me, and I want to get there now. I know it's relatively early, or at least halfway through this, and if people get nothing else, this is part of what I think is really important. I was at a conference, John Maxwell Catalyst conference a few years ago. You talked about your life earlier, being changed at a conference, and this was one of mine for sure. And the guy stood up and talked about the gospel, the story of God. And I don't know, I grew up in church, growing up hearing mom and dad share the gospel, share the story of God. But for some reason, when I heard this one this way, it made a life-changing difference for me. And I don't say that lightly. Because most times when we talk about the story of God, we talk about man sinned, people sinned, humans sinned. But thank God, Jesus came and died and rose again. And now we get to tell everyone about that. So you say, what's the gospel? Man, people sinned, Jesus died and rose again, and we get to tell people about that and go to heaven. And as Adventists, we love that because it's Seventh-day Adventists, God's coming again, right? Yeah. But they started with the whole story of God is that in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. In the beginning, God created shalom. He created everyone perfect. He created relationships, connectedness. He really created us to connect with the earth. He created us to connect with each other, connect with ourselves, and connect with Him. Those 4 relationships. And everything was great. And then, as humans, we mess it up, fall. So first word, creation. Second word, fall. Third word, redemption. Jesus came and died and rose again as a loving king. Fourth word, restoration. God is restoring and making all things new. And we get to join Him in that, with our entire lives, with all of who we are. Whether it's work, whether we're on a stage, whether we're digging a ditch, wherever we are, we get to join God in restoring. And that's the work that we get to do. That's the opportunity that we have every time we wake up. And we can find purpose and meaning in every moment.
That's good.
I didn't have that. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that story of God. I didn't realize. I thought that if you were if you were sold out to God, that you'd be like, you're a pastor, you are a missionary, and that's the people that are sold out for God, and the rest of us do things to support them. We come along, we give to support them. So I grew up thinking that, and I don't know that anyone told me that. That's just what I thought. That's what surrender looked like. But the idea, and we talked about, it's funny you mentioned surrender, the idea that surrendering your whole life to God is joining God. When God says, when Jesus says in John, I only do what the Father tells me to do. And later on I say, I only say what the Father tells me to say. What does that look like? That's a life I want to live now, and joining God in restoration. So that story of God, that 4-part story, creation, fall, redemption, restoration, is a crucial part of what I want to share, and I want my life message to be about, that we are restoring, and how can we join God in being restorers in every environment we're in.
Cool. That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Well, I guess touching more on that, your life story, we are in what Ellen G. White calls the nicest work. As teachers, which I feel like, honestly, now have been a teacher for a year, I feel like at Abraham's right here, teachers and pastors, like low key, they're pretty close. Like in terms of, he's nodding his head. Just because like we work with kids in such formative years of their lives. So how did you find the teaching profession, or I guess, how did it find you? Because I feel like I was called to this, right? Right. We're called to this ministry. So how did it find you? And how are you kind of embracing these philosophies and things that you've captured in your life throughout your teaching experience?
Wow, well, that's a big one. How much time do we have? I grew. part of it, you know, a lot of times people go into things that they just see right in front of them. And so for me, it was very simple. It was easy for me because I watched my mom, obviously, as a trained teacher and then moving on to principal, and my dad as a pastor. And then you talk about teaching. Yeah, those are very close together in so many ways. And so watching them and then realizing some of my own gifting, my own gift mix, that I'm confident that part of my gift mix is to teach, is to pass on, is to share and develop that way. So part of it for me was simply something that I knew I had a certain level of gifting in. I meant for it to be simply temporary. I was only going into, it was just to be a stepping stone, and then I was going to go into law, and we can, you know, down the road, if you want to, we can talk about that whole journey. But it was initially just a stepping stone, because I was gonna be a lawyer, and my mom said, I mean, it was really, really simple. My mom said, you can't just go into law right away. You need to have some kind of thing first, some degree or something like that first. So I said, okay, well then I'll just teach then, because I can always fall back on that if law doesn't work out. So that was kind of how I thought about it. So I was getting so I went to Andrews to get an education degree. Berman, then Andrews, to get an education degree. But it was always supposed to be a stepping stone to other things. I had no idea that it would be a stepping stone in so many ways to so many other things, and that we all get opportunities to teach in different ways at different times. And so it found me initially through one way, and where I am now when it comes to it being a profession that I spend a lot of hours doing during my day. It has to do a lot with the passion I still have for young people, for people to live lives of purpose, to live lives of mission, to live lives of change and transformation, to go into every environment, every space, and bring love, light, and hope, to be people of faith, to be people that can bring shifting, to shift atmospheres. Wow. I am very passionate about that.
Wow, that's good.
All right. So that's why for me, I still get up every morning, and I tell the kids, I said, I'm not tired. Like I'm not. I'm 32 years in. I'm not tired. So let's go. Wow. Let's go. Right. Like where are we now?
Teach me something, please.
We're in June right now, right?
Yes.
We're in June.
Yeah.
We're in June. So we have 10 days left. You got even less than me.
Yeah, like 4 days.
Right.
I got
4 days. And let's finish strong. Right. I tell them, hey, go watch on YouTube. Go watch videos called. I just had this one guy today. I'm like, go watch a video called "Don't Celebrate Too Early." Right.
Yeah.
There's this video like of guys and people in sports, and they're like, I won, and they right before they get to the finish line, someone tackles they drop the ball. Or my favorite one's the guy that's in the bike race, and he's right there, but he starts raising his hands.
And then the guy just I saw that.
I saw that too.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Don't celebrate too early. Run not to the tape.
Yeah.
Run through the tape.
Yeah.
Run through the tape, and that's a metaphor for life.
Yeah.
That's a metaphor for us wherever we are in our lives, right? If we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever the time is, 80s, like why stop? Billions of people went to bed last night. Millions didn't wake up this morning, or whatever that number is.
Yeah.
How come one of them wasn't you or me? God woke us up for a reason.
Yeah.
It is on us to join him in living that purpose today.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's live it with everything we got. So I'm passionate about, as you can see, I'm passionate about that happening. I'm passionate in a world where there's so much coming at you to say, hey, chill, just go on a beach, just relax, just turn off, tune out, let everything else take you. No. There's so many people that need our love and light and hope, and we benefit the same way, vice versa. Yeah. And so it's so important. And so I want a generation to live that. I want a generation to live that out more than ever. And I'm excited to be part of that, because I learn all the time. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Just before I came here, I was like to my daughter, who is a teenager. I just said, hey, Ellis, can I wear these shoes?
I need the stamp of approval.
Yeah, I got to get the approval, right? And I asked, it's not the first time, right? I got to get the approval.
I think she knows what she's talking about too. She got
some stuff.
Yeah.
She got some stuff. But yeah, they keep me on my toes that way, and it's really good.
Oh my goodness, they're so humbling sometimes.
Yeah.
But what grade do you teach?
High school grades 9 to 12.
Humbling, same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can't. Are you kidding me?
They're so funny though.
I have one person that this is maybe a little bit off, but she just a couple weeks ago, this person gave me a rubric. Here's a layout that says, hey, here's how you need to match. And I'm going to give you a grade, Mr. Maitland.
Oh.
I'm going to give you a grade on how your matching is going along. Because right now, you're at a C-.
Your clothes? With your clothes?
yeah.
You're giving him passionate advice? Oh my
You can't get anything past these kids.
So I'm in a whole new learning curve right now, daily.
Yeah.
Daily,
I feel you.
believe
No, I
that.
feel you.
I thought I knew
believe
some
that.
stuff, but I'm getting schooled daily
No,
right now.
I feel you too.
And it's good. It's
like
good.
this morning, I woke up a little late because we're getting to the end of the year. Like
Yeah.
I'm clocking
summer
out like
vacation.
with the kids. I'm
Yeah.
clocking out with them, so I need to lock in. Like let's go. But I
Let's go.
woke up late this morning. I couldn't fix my hair. I threw on a hat this morning, and then I walk into the classroom, and the kids go, "Mr. Costa, what are you hiding under there? Why are you wearing a hat? What are you
I knew
hiding?"
immediately.
No, I can't wear a hat. I can't do anything. Like
Yeah.
what's going on? So these kids like literally have us under a microscope. But
That's good.
but I want to find that passion one day too, because
Yeah.
this year was
That's
tough.
32 years,
It's
man,
tough. 32. I
every
gotta wait
day.
32 years. But
Wow.
honestly, like low key, when I was thinking about the profession, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a stepping stone for me. Like I'm gonna like there's gonna be bigger and better things.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like the more I do it, the more I realize how important like what we do is.
Yeah.
And why like it's also important for me to be a part of that in the students' labs especially.
And we just went through a time where we just did called grad speeches, and in order to do this with the grade 12s, and in order to do the grad speech, you spend some time going through, okay, where am I going? What's happening after I graduate? What does that look like? And you excavate your life. You go back in time. What are you? And that we have a process that we take people through. Just these last 2 years, we started doing this, which I'm very excited about, because as we were talking about before we turned the cameras on, we were talking about not just what do you do, but more importantly, why do you do it?
What you do, yeah.
Why do you do what you do? What do you get from what you do? What kind of contribution are you going to make? And so many people when we're applying for university or for the trades or whatever it is that we're doing, to get in, the question is simply, okay, how can I get what I want? Please take me, please, I beg you, UBC or whatever place, please take me, please, I'll do anything. Just I'll say anything, just let me get in. As opposed to, what contribution am I going to make? Whose life do I want to impact? What do I want people to line up at the end of my life and thank me for?
Wow.
Who am I passionate about? What people group? Where have I been hurt before? What pains have I had in my life? And how am I leveraging this statement? I heard a guy named Dave Gibbons say this: pain is my platform for power. Oh!
What? Say that again.
It hit me. I'm just hit me right now. Pain is your platform for power.
That's crazy.
What pains have I been through? A lot of times I want to bury that, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to bury with the death of my brother, for example. That's just one of many that I've been through. But I didn't realize that it could help me be more empathetic to other people that have gone through.
Yeah.
What the different things that we're going through. So sometimes part of my life journey, part of your life journey, is what pains have I been through?
Yeah.
Where have I been hurt before?
Yeah.
And where does God want to partner with me to help use that to help somebody else?
Yeah, 100%.
Who's the best person to help an alcoholic? A recoverer.
Yeah.
Or recovering alcoholic,
Yeah.
right? People say alcoholic. Recovered alcoholic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can relate then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so sometimes saying I don't want other people to suffer through the pain that I've been through.
Yeah.
and maybe part of my life journey, part of my profession, or part of, and by the way, there's people, the average person now will have between 4 and 6 jobs, before 4 to 6 profession changes in their lifetime, depending on what stat you read. 22 to 26 jobs. And that's an old stat. So the idea of I got to pick the one thing or the right thing,
right,
and God's going to call me to one place for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
There was a time where that was often true. But now, whether it's the internet, whether it's with AI, what's going on, you just saw Apple, make their announcement, yesterday, and with ChatGPT and what's happening with AI. Things are changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
Whole industries are going away.
Yeah.
And so the idea of listening to God and hearing his voice, I wanted to share something about my spiritual journey and hearing God in a minute, but the idea of hearing his voice for the next step and allowing God to use my place that I'm at right now for purpose. Instead of thinking that there's certain jobs and certain places that have purpose and then there's other ones that don't. How does God want to use me in this place at this time to serve the very people I'm serving?
Right.
And that can happen in every industry. I have a friend that she's in the movie industry, and when she goes there, she says, Ron, my primary purpose in being here is to serve the people behind the camera, to serve the people that are around, that are off stage. Even though I'm in front of the camera, I'm here to serve and pray for the people behind the camera. And she views that as being part of her mission field. And the ability to go and bring love and light and hope into every environment is one that we all get to do in multiple spaces
100%.
at all times. So excited about hearing God's voice and then moving forward.
Yeah. That's very true. I think sometimes we don't realize that God preps us, and like in those seasons of pain and darkness, so that one day, like you mentioned before at the very beginning, that he'll get us out,
Yeah.
And then how do then we not keep that to ourselves, but then we share that with people and like, hey, we did it, or hey, I did this, or, you can do that, and just to bring hope to others as well. Because like even for myself, like you don't even think about it until you're in like the darkness of it. You're like, I'm never, like, why God, why am I going through all of this? I don't understand. Until you're physically out of there, you're like, okay, that makes sense.
Yes, that's
and
right.
Also, like as an older sister, you kind of like you want to be like, hey, like I did it, it's okay. When you see, like, I see my siblings going through like, those sad moments, I'm just like, don't worry, like I not to like invalidate what they're feeling,
yes,
but to just be like, it's okay. You know what I mean? You'll get through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we don't realize it. God's prepping us,
Yeah, I mean, that journey of hearing God and hearing his voice for those moments is so powerful and so important. I struggle with asthma still to this day. I have an inhaler right there in that bag.
Oh, me too. It's right over there too.
It's right over there.
Yeah,
right?
I had to use it twice last week.
Okay, yeah, right. So a rescue inhaler, and Paul says, I think it's Paul. Pastor, correct me if I'm wrong here. That said, I had a thorn in my flesh, and I prayed for it to go away, and I asked for it multiple times to be taken away, and it wasn't. And certainly my asthma is one of them. And there's been seasons that it's been better and not so good. But on this topic of hearing God's voice, and spiritual journeys, I've had multiple kind of changes in my spiritual journey. And a few years ago, I started realizing there was another level of hearing God. I went to visit a church. It was a different denomination than the one that we're a part of. And I went to go visit this church, and they were here, and this part of the podcast here may or may not, I hope it doesn't.
Safe space.
No, yeah, you're good.
Space.
This is a safe space.
I hope it's fine for everyone.
You're good.
But yeah, I just remember, like, wait a minute, there's another different places and spaces emphasize different things. And the idea of hearing God's voice in tangible, powerful ways, real ways, like hearing his voice for people and what that could look like. I just realized that there were people walking around that were doing that. And so I started visiting the church. I'd come here on Saturday, and then I'd go to this other church on another day, and I started going regularly and started getting expanding the God that I thought I had God in a box. I had God figured out. and realized God was bigger than my categories.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That you know, because we have the truth, right? Or is the truth a lot of places? And for me, I realized that what I was thinking was truth was bigger. That the God of truth was bigger, and the idea that God wanted to speak to me in very real, tangible ways was becoming more apparent. And so I had a few people actually just start helping me with that, hearing His voice. And he said, "What do you do when you pray?" And they said, "You talk to God, right?" I said, "Yeah." Do you ever listen? Do you ever shut up and listen?
Oh man.
That's Pastor Steve, you're watching. Hi. I was like, usually I do all the talking.
Dang.
Yeah. A relationship is two ways. You talk and then you listen, and vice versa, right? So he's like, it's fine to talk, even if you journal. I said later, May talked about journaling. It's fine to journal. Do that, right? Do you ever listen as well? And I hadn't been doing that. So I said, just try that. Just try saying, so I tried it. He said, just try putting a date and saying, "Dear Ron, comma," and just listen. And then write what you hear.
Wow.
So I want to read to you what the very first one. I've done this many times since then, but I want to read what happened the first time, because I was like, "That's really." And at this time, I had a different. I worked in a different place than I do now. What I'm going to read you now is, I used to go downtown, so I went all the way from Surrey downtown on the Sky, park my car and go downtown on the SkyTrain. So it was a crowded SkyTrain, and so I get on the SkyTrain. There's tons of people there, and I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. Whatever, but I'll try this stupid thing just to say I did it. It didn't work, and I can get on with my day. So I go, "Dear Ron," in fact, I have it right here. I'm going to take my glass off for this part. Monday, January 26, 2016.
Oh.
And so I put Ron, comma, and then I just waited. And now I'm writing what I believe that I heard. I believe this is God talking to me. I know you're wondering if this is going to work. I know if you can keep this up. I know you want if you can keep this up. If this is something you'll start and stop. But Ron, this is about my power, not yours. My sufficiency, not yours. And right about then, I heard someone next to me, Ryan, and I could hear her on the phone saying, "My son's not coming to school today. He has asthma. He had an asthma attack, and he's in emergency. He's not coming into school today. And my husband is with him." So she was on the phone talking to the school, telling them that. And then I believe I heard, "Why don't you pray with her?" I was like, now? I didn't want to be. I don't want to be bullhorn guy. Bullhorn guy, right? Right? Repent, turn or burn. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to be any of that. And so I'm like, now. And I was just starting this, right? So I'm like, I'm fighting. I'm fighting it because I could hear her talking.
Yeah.
And so here's the next thing I heard. "Yes, Ron, I'd love for you to pray with her." And I'm like,
You're like, seriously, dude? Like, what?
And then I heard this. Or you can settle for advice. Because I love giving advice. I love, when people need it, you help them out. You can just give advice. We can settle for advice. Yeah. Instead of praying, advice. Tell her about some of the health stuff and reducing dairy, how that's helped your family with asthma. But what the lady standing next to you needs, Ron, is an encounter with me. I'm the healer. I'm the creator. What do you think I want to see happen in her family's life? Do you think it's an accident that she came to stand next to you in the SkyTrain? Why don't you ask her a question? Any question. And I'm battling this thing. And to make a long story short, I'm like, "Excuse me, did I just hear you say that you're son struggles with asthma? She said, yeah. I said, I've struggled with that. I've struggled with that. It's in my family too. Do you mind if I pray for you? Or pray with you? And she's like, I'd love that.
Wow.
So we start to pray. And by the way, I don't do this often, so I don't want to over spiritualize. So we're praying, and we're praying for this trip. And then to make a long story short, I remember it was her stop, which her stop was the same as mine. And by the end of it, she's crying. I'm crying. I could feel tears rolling my eyes, and I don't cry much, but I could feel it. And she gets off, and then she turns around. She says, "Thank you. That's exactly what I needed."
Wow.
Then I heard this. As she left, I heard this. And Ron, that's exactly what you needed.
Oh, that's crazy.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't God good?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that was the first time I'd done that listening prayer. The first time I'd done that. And I realized, the God of the universe that made the heaven and the earth, that made things rotate, that same God that made the sun, moon, and stars, that same God wants to speak to you and me.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Let's go.
Whoa. That's cool.
Yeah.
That is such a gift. Like, we all have that gift, you know? Like,
Yeah.
we can converse with him.
Yeah.
We just have to sit and listen.
Just sit and listen.
We're just yappers.
Just sit and
Yeah,
listen.
we
Just yap too much.
Yeah.
We yap too much.
Just sit and listen. Just put this down for a bit. Just turn it on silent, or leave it outside the bedroom or wherever for a while. Yeah, because he wants to talk.
Yeah,
God
that's
wants to
crazy.
talk to us.
I've never thought about it like that. Where like, I guess for me too, I felt like it was one-sided. Like a lot of my prayers are just like one way, and then like later down in the road, something will happen. I'll be like, okay, well, that's cool. Thanks,
Yeah.
God. But I never thought like to just sit and listen, which seems like the
It's a
strangest
crazy
thing, right?
I've been learning to do that recently. Like, I think it's nice that I'm trying to get it now while I'm young. But just to go out and for a walk, you know, just like, don't even like say nothing. Don't even put anything in my ears. Even if like music can be distracting.
Right.
Or like I'll just go out to the beach or like go to a park or something and just sit there. Like I don't just literally just listen to the waves, and I'm just like, I just gotta sit here. Because it's true. I think we're all yappers here.
Yep.
Yappers unite.
Yep,
You know
yep.
what I'm saying? But
Or listening to something
Yeah.
in our ears, listening to something yapping.
Yeah.
Right. Or music
Literally.
or something.
no, yeah, because sometimes music can be distracting. Like I was just thinking, like the generation that we are in, especially, I cannot sit down and eat my food without
Watching
a
something.
show
Yeah.
playing, and it's just
Yeah.
because that's like the way we have our phones. Everything's
Yeah.
so easily it's
Yes.
one of the biggest distractions that we
Yes.
have.
Yes.
And if we don't sit down and listen to him, like, then we're not engaging also with him as well. It's not like you said, just one-sided.
Yeah.
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 Wow. I feel like there's so much more we can talk about, even just like sitting here, because I'm just looking at the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
shoot. But, yeah, I mean, you've gone a long way here, and I feel like, I think there's, the question we ask here is, what would you tell your younger self? And I feel like there's a lot you could tell your younger self.
Because I've gone so long.
Oh no.
No, but like, just there's a lot of things that I've just taken just sitting here for myself that I'm just like, even what can I, hopefully when I'm older, I'm like, what can I tell myself right now in this moment too? You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thing. Wow. I mean, there's a lot that I'm still learning. That thing about creation, fall, redemption, restoration. That's a story we're all in, and God is the one doing restoring. We get to partner with Him, and the God of the universe wants to speak to each and every one of us. That the God of the universe, every single person we lay eyes on, Jesus died for, and He has a story. And how does God want us to partner with the story of the person right in front of us, at the grocery store, at the Starbucks, wherever we are? The idea that God is using us in every environment that we're in, and He wants to bring love, light, hope, and peace in us and through us.
Yeah.
And that's not just something that's an idea. That is a reality.
Yeah.
That we have the golden opportunity to live every single day wherever we are. The idea that, and then something I'm learning. What are you learning now, Ron? I'm learning a lot now. I'm on one of the biggest growth curves of my life right now. One of the things, if my wife Natasha was here, one of the many things I'm learning is to be present. Because let's go. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I've the future is waiting, and I believe we instead of waiting for the future to come to us, we get to form that future. We get to join God in creating that future, and it really matters. Vision, purpose, vision. Let's make something happen. Let's build, create. Let's move. That's a speed that I'm really, really used to.
Yeah.
That said, God of the universe wants me to be present with the people in my life right now.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I'm learning. I'm learning to say no less. I'm learning to when to shut down. Still hard for me because every time I go to sleep, which is really late. It's one thing I need to do. Need to get way more sleep. I always feel like I have so much left undone. Like, what are you doing? Don't you not see? Work is calling me. People are calling. Like, there's so many things that are calling. So what would I tell my younger self? I'd tell my younger self, why don't you listen to God's voice? Let him love you just as you are. And you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Just let him speak to you, love you, right where you are.
Yeah, that's good.
And some of that certain Press and I get to pray nightly is two things: wisdom and courage. God, help me to hear your voice. Help me to hear your wisdom, and then courageously obey. That we are your children. That we are loved just as we are. We don't have to do anything else. So that's something that I'm. It's easy to say, hard to remember for me.
Yeah.
And to live out in my practices, in my family, in my home, and in my life. To not just run past or run over people for my good, or what I think is good even for them, but rather to hear God's voice and let me love the people that are right in my space. What does that look like? So that's what I would tell my younger self instead of like, let's go. Yeah. Nothing wrong with let's go.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say, Ron, I love your energy though. Like every time we're worshiping, it's like when Ron's on, we're bumping, like literally.
Yeah.
And, like, I know I kept saying about like, you know, you're older than me, but what I'm saying is the energy, you know, like it's just so great. Like even me as a young person, because apparently I realized that I'm not up with the lingo anymore. I'm out of like,
oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
Where are we, Ryan?
I don't know.
I say we, but
but it's just so nice to like also like the energy you bring too. Like I know you're saying like slow down. It's also like, you know, the balance, right?
Yes, the balance. That's right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, I really appreciate your intentionality, and even in the conversation we're having, the intentionality in everything that you do, and I think that's like something that we all strive to do, just to have like the right intentions and in everything we do, and let that like bleed into our passions.
Right.
So
well, that's why we get to
Yeah.
do this. I just want to say that's why what you guys are doing is so important, because it's not just learning from a book like I like to do so much. It's actually we get to walk together and journey together with people, different kinds of people. That's why we have a church. That's why we have our groups and the different things, so we can learn from each other. How does God want each of us in different seasons of our life to walk and to journey and to do what it is that he's calling us to do?
Yeah.
And we get to learn from each other.
Yeah. Well, thank you for teaching us today, Ron.
Yeah.
We appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening to another episode of the pod. We would love to have you on this pod.
Yes,
like I said, this is our second last episode of this season, but going through in the summer, we would love to still be able to have some more conversations about who you are, how you got into the faith, your passions, your goals. We'd love to hear it all.
So safe space, like we said.
Safe space. This couch is safe space.
Take off your shoes. You can say whatever
Kick up
you
your
want.
feet.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
That's awesome.
So yeah, don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share this. Share this with a friend. Share this with a family member. Because honestly, you never know who might need this conversation. So thank you again for watching. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you for having me. It's
Yeah.
an honor to be asked. I really appreciate it.
And like we always close off the pod with, don't forget to love God.
Love people.
Serve the world.
Yes.
Bye.
See you guys.